Nebraska. Key facts. Abbreviation NE. Nickname Cornhusker State. Capital Lincoln. Flower goldenrod. Tree cottonwood. Bird western meadowlark. State dance square dance. Motto equality before the law. Mile after mile of grassy plain lies between Nebraska's border with South Dakota and my destination, the town of Grand Island. They call this country the Sandhills, where the plains undulate gently and the gray-green grass heaves and swells like the sea. Nebraska is a farming state. It was born of the great land grabs of the mid-19th century when the federal government offered free land to whomever could scramble it to it and claim it for their own. These homesteaders grew corn and raised cattle and lived a Great Plains life. Then came the Union Pacific Railroad, which passed right through Grand Island, giving it quite a reputation as a place of high living and loose morals. The great days of railroad are over, of course, but Grand Island has since benefited, if that is the word, from having one of the great interstate highways run plumb spang through it. Highways and byways. It has taken me some time to get my head around the way the American road system works. There are words that anyone who has watched as much American cinema and television as I have is bound to be familiar with: interstate, highway, turnpike, parkway, and so on. But what do all of numbers mean, and how does it all connect up? Allow me to quote more or less directly from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Highway Administration website. America's national highway system consists of 160,000 miles of road. Within that, there are the following subsystems. Principal arterials. These are highways and rural and urban areas which provide access between an arterial and a major port, airport, public transportation facility, and or other intermodal transportation facility. The strategic highway network, the Orwellian-sounding straw net. A network of highways important to the United States strategic defense policy, providing defense access, continuity, and emergency capabilities for defense purposes. Major strategic highway network connectors. Highways which provide access between major military installations and highways which are part of the strategic highway network. Intermodal connectors. These highways provide access between major intermodal facilities and the other four subsystems making up the national highway system. The Eisenhower Interstate System. I have no idea what the foregoing means either. I would know an intermodal facility from a lid to sleeve. The important fact for our purposes is that there is a whole separate network within the main highway system, the Eisenhower Interstate System, the equivalent of our motorway network, but more, so much more. The Eisenhower Interstate System. You might blanch at the prospect of me enlarging any further of this subject, but as they say in call centers, bear with me, it really is jolly interesting. It concerns, after all, the greatest public works project in the history of our species. In the 1950s, President Dwight D. Eisenhower and his administration released the budget and set in motion the creation of an enormous network of major roads connecting all the great metropolitan areas of America. Those who fought in Europe had been mightily impressed by the German Autobahn system, and the American automobile industry, amongst other pressure groups, was desperate for the United States to have something similar. In today's money, the whole project can be estimated as having cost something in the region of $500 billion, $100 billion. A bargain. America could never work the way it does without these roads. 46,000 miles of high quality, federal funded roadway connecting east to west, north to south, in a vast network. As one who has traveled along what seems all of it, I can testify to the astounding quality. There are amazingly few cones, construction sites, and counterflows, and while much of it passes through thoroughly boring, samely, and uninspiring countryside, there are interstate sections as beautiful as any railway line in Europe, traversing mountains and forests and lakes and gorges and valleys of heart-stopping beauty. Sometimes an interstate is a two-lane road, sometimes three, or in cities, as many as 4, 5, or 6 lanes wide. Sometimes the speed limit is 55 miles per hour, sometimes 75. It will depend on the state. The numbering system is simple once you get the hang of it. East-west roads have even numbers designated to them, and north-south get the odd numbers. Hence the monumental I-95, the East Coast Interstate from Maine to Florida, or the I-70 from Utah to Maryland, which was the first interstate to be built in America. Which brings us back to Nebraska. The railroad, which once dominated the economy of Grand Island, has been replaced by the I-80, one of the great transcontinental roads, second only in length to the I-90 Boston to Seattle. Interstate 80 begins life in downtown San Francisco and ends in the New York suburb of Teaneck, New Jersey. Or should that be starts in Teaneck and ends in San Francisco? Who is to say? In the West and Midwest, it passes through Oklahoma, Berkeley, Sacramento, Reno, Salt Lake City, Cheyenne, Lincoln, Omaha, Des Moines, Chicago, South Bend, and Cleveland before heading north through Pennsylvania and New Jersey, crossing between those two states on the beautiful Delaware Water Gap. The I-80 also passes through Grand Island, Nebraska. All along such a great road, it goes without saying, there will be filling stations, eateries and motels, services encapsulated in the common sign, gas, food, lodging. For me in my taxi, these are the skirt of my waistline. A 300-mile journey along an interstate is only made tolerable to regular stops for diesel, beef jerky, Reese's peanut butter cups, trail mix, fizzy drinks, and bottles of weird energy drinks that keep one awake at the price of trembling and shakings and manic screechings at the wheel. But there are other road users for whom my piffling journeys are as nothing. I'm talking about the long-haul truckers. For this legendary figure there has grown up an institution called the truck stop. Rarely glimpsed by the non-professional road user, I am to be given an insight today. If I can reach Grand Island in time, that is. My route south from the Dakotas is by slow state highways through the towns of Valentine and Broken Bow, and I'm anxious to arrive at the truck stop before sundown. Some truck stops are a little more than diners, but big enough for cars for lorries to park in, but not much different from our own transport cafes. But the Boss truck stop is on a bigger scale entirely. There are shops, showers, truck washing facilities, a variety of food outlets, and a massive area for parking the rigs in herringbone formations in designated bays. Motel rooms are on offer, but most truckers prefer to sleep in their cabins. There are also rumors that a legendary creature, the Lot Lizard, a prostitute who specializes in truckers. Naturally, her existence is denied by all. My first stop is the main store, which sells everything: silver trucking mascots, dentist-style mirrors for checking out your vehicle, More of those other introducing energy drinks, all kind of clothes. Having promised myself I wouldn't be such an ass, I finally succumbed my and buy a hat. Not a 10-gallon Stetson, but unmistakably the kind of Western cowboy hat that not Brighton can wear without looking like 10 type of dick. Oh well, I'm also managed to add to my collection of American State Bridge magnets. By the end of my journey, I should have them all. Time to go outside and pick up a tracker. The European juggernaut has nothing on the great American trucking rig. The pride is in the parenting work, the vertical chimney style exhaust, the sheer scale of another gold entirely. I turned around, happened to fall into conversation with one of the drivers. It is close to sunset now, and adolescents are turning in from the highway at a rate of 10 a minute. Finally, I meet Bruce as he clambers down from his huge magenta cabin. He agrees to take me out on the road the following morning. He is headed from Pennsylvania. 8 o'clock sharp, he says, on his way to the main complex. On the dot, I assure him. Someone in our crew always sleeps. We arrive at 8:20 a.m. Bruce's engine is running and he is all ready to go. He is too American and therefore too polite to bore us out, but I can tell he thinks little of the professionalism of a film crew that can't honor an agreed rendezvous time. We drive east along I-80 into the rising winter sun. Bruce is the perfectly imperfect interviewee, laconic and unsentimental. He comes from North Carolina and went into trucking because he likes to be his own boss and because, quite simply, he enjoys driving. I ask questions about the maverick status of the trucker, his ideals, his worldview, his sense of himself, and the great open road of America. Bruce vouchsafes little more than a grunt or an "I don't know" to what now sound like, in my ears, absurdly pretentious and irrelevant questions. He's a trucker. He drives a truck. He does this in America. So the distances are sometimes great. He likes to be punctual. He enjoys his work. He's a trucker, not a philosopher, or a poet or a songwriter. He drives trucks. End of story. I respect that.